Hello, everybody. I'm Russell Hill. I'm your host for another episode of WTF, and that is What the Fixed Ops.
Everybody, I'm the co-host here. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of FixedOPS Marketing and the co-host of WTF. And today we're really excited. We have Bill Springer. He is the president of Krex Incorporated. Bill, tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Absolutely.
Sure. Well, Charity, thank you very much. Russell, pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me on today. So Krex is actually celebrating its 75th year in business this year.
Wow.
And what's unique about that is that for our entire history, we have done nothing but service franchise new car dealerships for our entire 75-year history. And more specifically, really what we've done even more specifically is work with dealers to help make sure customers return for maintenance. So we've been focused on oil changes, scheduled maintenance services, and making sure customers come back to the dealership again and again for service, because we all know that means they're going to be much more likely to buy their next vehicle from the dealership as well. So I've been fortunate enough to be a part of the Krex journey since late 1987. So I can't believe it's been that long. What is that, 30 some odd years? We've changed quite a bit as a company over that period of time, but the core customer that we serve has always been the franchise new car dealership.
You have seen a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah.
Our company, which is FixedOPS Marketing, we actually rolled our first product out January 7th of 2020. So we're just a little over 3 years old, and then COVID hit. It's like, oh my gosh. And of course, service was essential. Now, I grew up, even though I've been on the vendor side for 23 years, I grew up 16 of those or something like that with actually, working my way up, running stores, etc. Service is such an integral part of, and more focused, at least from my experience, because I'm the variable guy. And it seems like with most general managers, 80 to 85% of them from the variable side, and they don't really understand the fixed side. But we know right now that at least everything I'm involved in is fixed operations, fixed operations, fixed operations. Service is essential. But there's also a huge defection rate. Now, depending on who I talk to, it's 80-20, 70-30, 65-35. And it's all about repeat referral and retention. And that is your area of expertise. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's lots of different statistics out there, but we all know whatever those numbers turn out to be, and no matter how you measure it, we know that there are some key defection points in that customer journey that cause customers to defect from the dealership, sometimes unknowingly. Sometimes you'll even have customers who describe themselves as being highly satisfied and love their dealer, but they find themselves at a dealer's competitor, an aftermarket competitor, because lo and behold, they don't know, for example, that the dealership sells tires. Now, you and I would find that hard to believe that in this day and age, a vehicle owner wouldn't know that their dealership sells tires, but there's still an awful lot of customers out there who don't realize that their dealership is the place to go for tires. So that's a critical defection point, because and this is a widely quoted statistic that 90% of customers who buy tires somewhere other than the dealership never come back to the dealership again for anything. So it's a big defection point. I was meeting with a fixed operations director just this morning who we were talking about that point specifically, about the importance of tires is not so much about making money on them, because it's a tough commodity product to make money on, but it is absolutely essential to making sure that you service those customers and that they know about your tire capabilities to return for service. And that's just one, and that's a big one that we hear from our customers day in and day out.
That's the biggest one that we focus on too. That and oil changes are the two biggest defection points. Yet the dealers are equipped for all of that. Right. And we know that during the warranty period, the single largest purchase they're going to make during that time is probably going to be tires. And if we're not asking for it, they're going to get it somewhere else.
Yep.
And you're right. It's a huge defection point. I see a lot more time and care and energy and effort spent to turn that around. I was involved. I won't mention any names, but even if I can regurgitate it correctly, on another Zoom call, I was listening to this gentleman that was having a sit down with the guy that has a hugely successful franchise, and he wouldn't say the guy's name either. But when he said how many franchises he had, we all knew that it was Discount Tire.
Mhm.
And Discount Tire, the owner or CEO was actually a little concerned, and he got to dig a little bit. And he said, dealerships are starting to figure it out, and they're much more equipped to handle things that we don't handle, because we do tires and wiper blades and essentially rims. And other than that, that's about it. Dealerships are starting to figure it out, and they understand that they can get tires just as fast as we can. And that not only that, but it's not, they're not going to make a lot of money. It's the long game, not the short game.
Right.
And it's what happens when you keep them coming back and you start the customer pace. Anyway, do you I mean, that's all what you're hearing, the buzz out there too, or?
Absolutely. That's what we deal with day in and day out. That's, when dealers who come to us tell us, hey, we need help selling more tires. And we know that that's a relatively infrequent purchase, but as we just discussed, it's incredibly important. But making sure that that customer returns again and again for oil changes and scheduled maintenance service is what is going to lead to that customer being able to buy tires and ultimately buy another vehicle from the dealership as well. So, the tires and oil changes are intertwined very closely, and really, if your customer is coming to you for oil changes and scheduled maintenance on a regular basis and on time, you're much more likely to see that customer remain a loyal customer for years and years. And that's really what we help dealers do day in and day out, is add value to their oil change services to make sure the customers see them for the unique capabilities that dealers have that no one else can deliver on that type of value in the aftermarket.
Yeah. So you're revolutionized the back end. We're kind of revolutionizing and pioneering the experience on the website, which is where most people are going to go for information first to start the value building and set up for whatever the experience would be. So you're the go-to for maintenance, tires, and repairs. Give me could you let our audience know a little bit about what does that look like? How do dealers come to you? Do you go to them? As long as you've been in business, they're probably coming to you, but tell us what that journey looks like.
Yeah, I mean, typically our interaction with dealerships has been almost exclusively for our entire history on a one-to-one basis through our direct sales force, working with franchise new car dealers all over the country. As we all know, that changed over the last couple of years with respect to COVID, and I think that we've all figured out how the best way to interact with customers is. There's nothing can take the place of a face-to-face meeting and seeing a customer, seeing a prospect in the flesh. But on the other hand, there's a lot of meetings that can occur just almost as well on a recurring basis through virtually. So we've navigated that pretty well, I think. But dealerships, through our entire history, have relied upon us to help them differentiate their services, and that's really what the main thing that we do. The real value that we bring to the dealership is helping the vehicle owner see the additional value that they get by coming to the dealership for service. The value that we provide through our DriveSure product is a renewable benefit that includes complimentary dealer loyal roadside assistance and road hazard tire protection. So typically a dealership who incorporates DriveSure into their oil change program would use, say, a 180-day program. Why 180 days? Because that's whatever cycles up and aligns with the recommended maintenance interval that that dealership or manufacturer has, is what we want to recommend to that dealership or to that consumer to return for. So after 180 days, the customer comes back for their next oil change or scheduled maintenance service, and those benefits automatically renew. So at the same time that it brings customers back in for service and brings them back on time, it also provides them protection in the case of when they need emergency roadside assistance, or if they have a tire issue, they know to return back to the dealership to get that tire repaired or replaced. And that's a benefit that the dealership provides through DriveSure. The other part of it is emergency roadside assistance. And, I think it seems as if today you can get roadside assistance when you buy a candy bar. Everybody's got it, and you can get it just about anywhere. But the question is, what's in the dealership's best interest for that customer to use, and what's in the customer's best interest when they need roadside assistance? And that's really where DriveShare comes in, because so long as that customer is within 25 miles of the dealership, they're going to be automatically towed back to that servicing dealership, and that gives the dealership an opportunity to protect that relationship with the customer. It makes it more comfortable with the customer, because they know the people. Hopefully, they know the people that they're dealing with at the dealership level, and it helps protect that relationship. Otherwise, if they call another roadside assistance network, they wind up being towed even back to the closest dealer. May not be their servicing dealer, or certainly a corner garage, or a chain store, or that type of thing. That's an opportunity for that competitor to market to that customer, try and win them over, and get them coming back to them for scheduled maintenance and tires and that type of thing.
That's ingenious. That really is.
Thank you. So we help add that value. We communicate that value on behalf of the dealership to their customers, so the customers know what they have. They know what they need to do to keep those benefits in force. And then we do the analytics on the back end as well. So we're able to dive deep into the data with the dealer to see what impact we're having on the dealership's retention rates, on their customer pay ROs, on tire sales, on all of those things, and figure out what's working, what can work better, what does the dealership need help with, and that type of thing.
We are passionate about helping consumers find a great, trusted place to get their car fixed. We have 4 million uniques who come to our website each month for car repair information, and we help them find our REPAIRPAL certified locations. We also have amazing partners like USAA that offer our REPAIRPAL certified network to their customers and members. So how are we going to help dealers? Well, dealers sell 100% of the cars, but over time, after the warranty expires, the repairs go up and up and the revenue potential goes up, but people keep leaving the dealer over time after the warranty. By years 10 or 12, only about 20% of people are still servicing at the dealer. Why is that? There's one dominant reason, and that is price perception. And being REPAIRPAL certified helps you overcome the primary price perception problem. So come let us show you how REPAIRPAL can help you too.
Do you work with advisors and technicians too? Do you do any of the training, or is it, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we work obviously very closely with dealership management in designing a program that's going to work for that particular dealership, for that particular brand of vehicle that they sell and service. So we typically work with the GMs, work very closely with service directors and service managers, and then they strategically implement our products, our DriveShare product into their dealership, making sure that those folks on the front line who have the toughest jobs, the service advisors, cashiers, and technicians, understand what it is that's being provided is absolutely essential. Because if they understand it, if they see the value in it, and that they know it's good for their customer, they're going to be much more enthusiastic about it. They're going to do a better job communicating that to the vehicle owners, and it's going to make the program that much more successful, that much more quickly.
Yeah.
One of the metrics we measure for our customers over time is awareness of the DriveShare benefits. So we survey their customers with a very simple survey. In most cases, that is just a 3-question survey only related to DriveShare. And we ask, were you aware that you received DriveShare benefits with your service today? And does it make them, do the inclusion of these benefits make it more likely that you'll return to the dealership for your next maintenance service? And then the third is, would you recommend your dealership to family and friends? But the awareness score is really important, because that tells us how well we and the dealership is communicating these value-added benefits to the vehicle owner. Because let's face it, if the vehicle owner doesn't know about it, it's not going to change their behavior, and it's not going to have an impact.
So what is an average of what you're finding with them knowing and understanding and referring, et cetera?
Yeah, so for a dealership that is established, and we that is through that first year of service, we typically see a score of between 70 and 75%
Wow.
awareness after one year is what we consider the benchmark. So anything above that, we're happy with. And then on the intent to return, we typically see that is 85% or above is the benchmark that we're looking for there. So obviously we want customers to be aware of it, and we're also measuring how much value the vehicle owner places on those benefits. So
that is really powerful stuff to keep them coming back. When we talk about these are not my numbers, NADA, but they say for every franchise dealer, there's 16 non-franchise entities that are salivating, laying in wait, and waiting for people to defect, which the vast majority of them will if certain things aren't taking place. And that could be Pep Boys, Firestone, Goodyear, Valvoline. It goes on and on and on. There's a plethora of them out there. And I think they're starting to get a little scared. Now you got EVs coming into play, which is, it's not like overwhelming, but they're not equipped, just like Discount Tires and places like that are not equipped as the dealership is. And of course, a crucial, pivotal point is to making sure those relationships get built and customers are communicated with, and you're monitoring their tires, you're monitoring their brakes, you're monitoring their fluids, etc. And you got Charity comes in with 2 car seats in a minivan. I mean, you got an instant talking point. Most of us are got kids or grandkids or a combination thereof. I mean, we know what's going to be important to them, which
Absolutely.
Incidentally, I'm going to digress just for a minute. Are you married and do you have kids?
I'm married and have 4 kids. Yeah.
And what are their names and ages?
Sure. My wife is Andrea. We've been married for 37. Yeah, 37
Better get
years.
it right, Bill.
Yeah,
She's watching.
I know, 37 years. We have 4 kids. Xander, who is 31. Christopher's 30. Lizzie is 26, and Caroline is 23. Yeah, so they're all young adults, all off the payroll. And,
are they really though?
They are. Yeah, absolutely.
How about grandkids?
Other than the cell phone, they're still on a cell phone plan for some reason. But yeah, much to my wife's chagrin, no grandkids yet. Okay.
Yeah, that is really easy. I got 3 and 4 and 3 kids and grandkids, and they're what is really important to me and my wife is all of the kids and grandkids live within 9.5 minutes of Gigi and Papa. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time. It's quite different with grandkids than it is with your own kids, particularly at certain times where, okay, time to go. See you later. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
So as you're climbing and working, I'm switching gears on you as my ADH mind does, but as you're climbing and working and, et cetera, you've been there a long time, either prior to or during, was there any significant moments or, crossroads, life-changing events? Because we love talking about business, but occasionally, we hear some really, pivotal times in people's lives, and which is integral part of where they're at today. Not regretting what happened, but it was a great learning. Anything like that you wouldn't mind sharing? Or
well, sure. Yeah, a couple of things. From a personal standpoint as well as from a business standpoint. I started working for Krex in 1987, and my intention was it was going to be a 6-month stint. Wow. So Krex is a family business, and was founded by my wife's grandfather.
Wow.
And and he hired my wife's father, my father-in-law, in the 1960s to come to work for him. His name's Walter Bushala. And so Walter really built a company from, being a regional player, started in Detroit, and really, servicing dealers in the Midwest and Indianapolis, Chicago, Detroit, and really turned us into a national company. And in the late 80s, my wife decided to go back to graduate school. I was living in Columbus, Ohio. I was in the commercial banking business after graduating from college for a few years. And she was going back to graduate school in Chicago. And she said, well, I'm going to graduate school in Northwestern and moving back to Chicago. You can come with me if you want. So I said, yeah, I kind of want to. And Walter said to me at that point, well, I need somebody with some financial acumen to help out the company. Why don't you come to work for me for 6 months? Because when my wife was done with graduate school, my plan was to go back to graduate school. And he said, you can go get your MBA and you'll be able to be together and that type of thing. And long story short, I wound up taking a position. I wound up going to graduate school and getting my MBA, and realizing at the conclusion of that the opportunities that I had within Krex and the company were much more exciting than what I could get going to work for, a consulting firm or a big marketing firm or that type of thing. And so that was kind of a seminal moment for me that was turned into a great opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds like it.
Yeah. And really kind of equipped me well to deal with the challenges that are inevitable in any business, but are and the opportunities that are available to you, and really allowed us to pivot the company around the year 2000 from being one that was founded upon the development of a graphite motor oil supplement to transitioning into a customer retention solution provider for dealers. Because about that time, as you recall in the industry, that was about the time when dealers and OEMs really woke up to the fact that fixed operations was a really important part of the business, and that as margins got compressed on new cars, that it was going to be even more so. And that's when we really made the strategic pivot to really focusing on making sure that dealers remained the go-to provider for maintenance, tires, and repairs. And that's really the direction that we've headed in ever since. And we're a very different company in 2023 than we were in 2000, that's for sure. And even 2010.
Well, that's a good thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So the only thing I remember about Columbus, Ohio is basic training. That was a long time ago. I don't even remember too much about it because I only got to go off post like one night or something like that, and then went to Fort Wayne, Georgia. But that's where you grew up, or that? No,
I'm originally from New York City,
Okay.
but grew up went to high school and grew up in Ohio, just outside of Dayton, Ohio, and went to college at Miami University in Oxford, Ohio, and worked in Columbus for a few years after college. I worked for Huntington National Bank in their commercial lending unit, and had great experience there, and then moved back to Chicago, as I stated earlier.
So you are a numbers guy, aren't you?
I'm a numbers guy, absolutely. Yes.
I noticed you put me in a minivan earlier, Russell. The two cars.
Well, I mean, because you got two kids, right? I mean, guys too. I mean, my car's got two baby seats in it for the grandkids.
Yeah, it's funny.
I saw a Porsche 911 at the airport last week that had a baby seat in the back. You know how small a seat is on a Porsche 911. I'm like, that's going in style with your kids.
Oh, yeah, it's probably a tight squeeze in there.
I'm sure.
Well, how about, Russell and I by the time this airs, have done a presentation at NADA on electric vehicles. And there's a lot of talk about, how independent service and let's say EVs take off, and, there's an opportunity there for dealerships to lose that business. And I kind of wonder what your perspective is on sort of the future changes of EV and what's coming.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. I think dealerships are really well positioned to maintain that business. I think in the intermediate term, they're probably going to be in good shape with respect to retaining those EV customers for service for the most part, because I think most vehicle owners recognize the fact that these are very specialized vehicles, and they really can't and don't want to trust them to anyone who except a dealership who has the best training and the best technicians available to it.
Absolutely.
I think that we can also look at what's happening to internal combustion vehicles and service too, and see some similarities to what we're going to see with battery and electric vehicles. And that is that the oil change is slowly being replaced as the most frequent service in the service department by a tire rotation. And because oils are lasting longer,
Sure.
and the service intervals are increasing, even to the point where, if you look at a Toyota scheduled maintenance service, many of their vehicles have a 5,000 mile interval, but the oil changes every other 5,000 mile service. So you're looking at 10,000 miles on the interval, but to
Big
keep a
difference.
5,000 mile tire rotation. So I think that previews a lot of what we're going to see with respect to battery and electric vehicles. The most frequent servicing is going to be the importance of that tire rotation, and not to mention the fact that battery and electric vehicles are heavier typically, and with the acceleration that you get with them, it's going to be tougher on tires. So I think tires are going to, really be a big focus on BEVs going forward for
huge
dealerships.
focus. Absolutely.
But I think it's exciting, and there's a lot of change there. But I think there's with any type of change, there's also opportunity there.
Shame on me for putting you in that box, Charity.
I could use a minivan, to be honest.
Yeah.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, super. All right.
So do you think, obviously tires, and there's a lot of other opportunities we're finding as well. The customer experience is going to be crucially important because the people that have them are also going to have internals as well. And you want them to continue to come back and have that experience. And one of the, because this will air after the fact, the journey that we're taking people on, it's just really high level stuff. We're going to have a little fun about the political side of it, environmental side of it, et cetera. But in the end, it's all about your people. And you got Gen Zs and Ys and millennials, and things are other things are not as important to them as they are to the older generation. And the whole thing is to attract and retain good quality people. And that's to make the number one thing is we're focusing on the customers, the experiences, the relationship. I don't know if there's delineation between the two. They're both equally important.
Right.
But the thing is, are you taking care of your advisors? Are you taking care of your technicians? And if so, how are you actually doing that? Are you listening to them? Because it's really important, I think, and I think Charity does, probably all of us, that people want to know that they do count, they make a difference, that they're important, that they're contributing something, they're part of a team, and they feel like they're in the loop instead of the opposite.
Yep.
And that's understanding their why and what their motives are and what drives them. Do you think that's also a crucial role for?
Absolutely. No question about it. I think, in my experience, what I see is the most successful dealerships over time have a really stable base of employees. They have loyal employees who understand what their roles are excited to be there, and are there for a long period of time. When I see a dealership that has a lot of turnover, especially in the management ranks, that typically trickles down to the employees as well. So it is absolutely essential that employees feel appreciated, that they feel supported, and that they come to work every day understanding that they're going to make a difference in the lives of their coworkers and their customers.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's this old adage that says the customer is always right, and I don't believe that. I think that we've all been in positions where we've been forced to negotiate a conflict between a customer and an employee, and I think that I land on the side of, in general, unless it's something egregious, which it rarely is in our case, fortunately, is that the employee is the person who is much tougher to replace than the customer is.
Yes.
And
well said. Wow.
You obviously want to do everything you can to retain employees and customers, but boy, that employee is that you back up and recognize that, hey, you can't throw them under the bus. You have to provide them with the support both behind the customer and in front of the customer, and they'll appreciate that over time. And there's going to be short-term imbalances. I think that running any type of organization is kind of like the organization. You can kind of think of it as being on a three-legged stool, and those three legs of the stool are customers are one leg of the stool. Employees are the second, and shareholders. And you can deal with short-term imbalances in any of those three constituencies, but in the long term, they really have to be balanced in order to have a successful organization over time. And I think we're at a point within our economy with respect to, and certainly with respect to technicians and how tough it is to hire them, that you really have to put a lot of emphasis on that employee, that employee support to make sure that that they feel supported and they have everything they need to do their job well, because they're the ones who are going to take you through tough times as well as help you take advantage of opportunities.
They haven't done that in the past, but they're starting to figure it out now.
Yeah.
I mean, at any other time, I hear things and styles, and yes, we know that the speed of the pack is set by the leader. And if you have a lot of turnover, it's going to certainly filter down because it's unstable. And then you have people that understand the difference of leadership versus management, because managers, at least as far as I'm concerned, they light a fire under people to get them moving, and leadership's light a fire inside people. And find out what their why is and inspire them and motivate them and pour love into them to go to the next level to achieve whatever it is they want to achieve. And there's a real difference between those two philosophies, I think. But I see the same thing. Yeah. Technicians are treated like they're in the shadows. They're not, but I'm with the people I'm involved with, and they're not all like this, but people are talking about all this stuff, and we get together in these huge Zoom calls and 2 or 3 times a week in different venues and talk about these things that are going on and talk about, flat rate or, I mean, on and on and on, all the different things. But these are people who are genuinely interested in hearing feedback and trying new things versus people that are not. And unfortunately, you keep doing the same thing, expecting different results. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen.
Right. That's exactly right.
You got to make some changes.
Absolutely. It reminds me of one of my mentors had a saying that asked the question of, how do you know if you're a leader or not? You look over your shoulder, and if people are following you, you're a leader. And I think that's a great way to help incentivize people and hold them up.
That's so simple and true. It's profound. It really is, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep, it is.
So what do you think the secret sauce is for creating that kind of employee loyalty or leadership? Like, we talk about it all the time, and we know there's not a straightforward answer, but what's your take on it?
Yeah, I think it's engagement. I think it's engagement with a direct report with your direct boss. And I think it's up to that supervisor, that manager, to take the initiative to drive that engagement with the employee. I think that there's lots of reasons that people join an organization, but the most common reason that someone leaves an organization is because they don't get along with their direct boss, and I think that typically comes down to, not always, but typically comes down to communication. So what we do within our organization is we have 2 regularly scheduled meetings with our management team. One is on a Monday afternoon that has a set agenda that we follow, and it typically lasts no more than 90 minutes, but we cut it off 90 minutes. And that allows us to communicate within department to department. And then we have a short 15-minute huddle on Thursdays to just update things and talk about anything we need to talk about. But I think more importantly, from an employee perspective, one of the things that we do within our organization is that we hold monthly one-to-ones with each direct report. And the role of the manager in that one-to-one is to not prepare anything. It's to sit and listen and engage. It's on the obligation of the employee to come prepared. And they come prepared in the sense that they either bring an opportunity to discuss a problem that they've been having, or an idea that they want to discuss with their boss. And so it's their 1 hour per month that they have an opportunity to bring whatever it is that they feel is important to talk about to their direct supervisor. And then that supervisor's job is to engage, to listen, and to either take action on it or more times than not, help that employee take action on it and take ownership for certain ideas that might make sense to push through the organization. And what we have found is it's just a great way in which to give space to an employee to say, here's some uninterrupted time for you to bring things to the table to talk about. There's no phones, the phones are off, there's no phones in the room, and it's just 1 hour of one-to-one discussion. And I think that has helped quite a bit in terms of help bringing not only issues to light that hopefully we can resolve, but also bringing a lot of opportunities to light as well. We've got some great people within our organization who can really shine and are creative and execute well, and giving them an opportunity to be challenged and to move forward in their careers is obviously what it's all about.
That's great. I mean, that's great. I have been where one time I left a job for greener pastures, which was a mistake, but the money was just exceptional, and it almost destroyed me after 1 year. And it wasn't about the money anymore. And not that money's not important, it certainly is. But I'll tell you what, if you're taking care of your people and you're offering technicians a little bit more, they're not even going to think about going, because they know they're being, and I like to think that my company's that way too. Like the charities and other people we have in the organization, we engage a lot with each other, and they also push back from time to time too. And they got great ideas and this and this and that. And it's just, I think it's important to always pour into your people and listen to your people and continue to encourage and motivate and your people to just keep moving, right?
Absolutely.
And of course, they all want more money too, right?
Of course. We all do. We all do.
Had to throw that one in.
You can never have enough, right?
All right. Wow. Sorry about that.
Well, how about, we often hit on the topic of transparency and, offering services to the customer, but being transparent about it, having price transparency. What's your take on sort of that hot topic right now?
Sure. Within the service drive, it's in particular?
Yes.
Yeah. I think transparency is absolutely essential, but I think you have to be careful that it doesn't go overboard. So I think the typical customer who is coming in for a scheduled maintenance service, let's say the price on that scheduled maintenance service is $100, for example. Mm-hmm. They want to know what's included in that. It's a tire change, it's an oil change, a tire rotation, 27-point inspection, drive sure benefits, whatever it is that's included in it. They want to know that, but they don't necessarily want to know, the price of the oil filter and exactly what you're charging for whatever the component is. Most people want to know, what's the total price? Is it fair? Am I getting value for my dollar for it? But I think in terms of and you have to be able to give them the detail if you want it, but you don't. But I think there's
it's rare.
Sense of it's rare, and from a competitive standpoint too, I think I don't see as many of them as I used to. You see comparison boards on the service department. Here's our oil change price, and here's the quick lube down the street, the independent garage, and that type of thing. I think that's putting too much emphasis on the price, and so from transparency, from a competitive standpoint. I don't necessarily want to shine a spotlight on my competition. I want to educate my customers about the value that they get from me, but right. I don't think you have to be so worried about the competition in that respect that you have to show what their prices are.
Yeah, I think a lot of times there's one company that is not only a sponsor we have, but they came about to be a sponsor. They ended up on the Art Shaw with REPAIRPAL, ended up on the show just as you did. And I have a lot of our dealerships that use that, and it can be overused or be used in effective ways. But it's a remarkable transparency tool when talking about certain things that people have a question about because of some previous experience they had, or maybe it's in for a rotate and balance. It's up on the lift and the rotors are gouged and the brakes, the pads are gone or something like that. To have a picture or an MPI video, that's
Absolutely.
really huge at trade. And also across the drive now, there's some remarkable tools out there. Some of them are really expensive, cutting edge, where it shoots under and around and over, and it knows if there's dings on it. If you have an oil leak that you didn't have last time, and what the tires, if they're out, just on and on. And that is, I think is, and I hope you do too. That's going to be a pivotal part of, if it's incorporated the right way. I think it's going to be a pivotal part in keeping customers coming back, because you have to talk about tires.
Yep. Couldn't agree with you more.
Good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Good, because if you did and you disagreed with me, we're going to have to cut this short. You no, but this is really great. So do you have any thoughts on EV and the adoption, which we're just about on that 5% threshold, depending on who you're talking to? And if it's something that's really going to take off in a big way, or there's still a lot of uncertainty. Do you have any personal thoughts on that?
Yeah. I think that, I think it's going to continue. I think it's pretty clear that it's going to continue to have EVs are going to have a larger and larger market share as time goes on. I think that we have to remember that internal combustion engines are going to be around for a long, long time.
Long.
And I think the tipping point, if I recall correctly, in one survey I saw recently that we were talking about like 2030, 2035, before tip, there were more electric vehicles and internal combustion. And I suspect that that's going to come to fruition. However, I think the adoption is going to be largely dependent upon the infrastructure available to the vehicle owner.
Big deal right now.
Yeah, you drive around Chicago, where I live, and there's lots of EVs because there's lots of infrastructure to charge them. I drive around rural Ohio, where I grew up. There's not that many because it's rural, and right. So there's a lot to be. I think we're going to continue to see some big differences between cities and rural areas in terms of their adoption. But who knows? The battery technology may change. Probably
it's going to. Yeah, I think it'll evolve. Yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully.
Yeah. It's really funny because, and everybody knows this. California and like 13 or 14 other states followed suit. They'd like to ban electric vehicles. Ban gas powered vehicles by 2035 or something like that. Well, I just saw the other day that there's a bill before the Wyoming legislature. It's the total opposite. They're going to ban EVs by 2035. It's like, okay, here we go. Politics again, right? For sure. But there is a lot of, charging deserts, infrastructure, and also the cost too. I have to say this. So, there's a journalist in Norway, because they're way ahead, like 35% electric or some hybrid or combination thereof. And it's almost $1 a kilowatt hour to charge, which is about $100 to charge a Tesla. And I don't know what real benefit there is there, but we wonder why the uncertainty is and why we're not moving as fast as some other companies. Let's look at electricity prices.
Yeah.
And
I was at I'm sorry.
No.
I was at the Hawaii Auto Dealers Association annual meeting last September, and they had a speaker from Hawaii Electric. They're talking about electric infrastructure in the Hawaiian Islands. And one of the points that he made, it was an excellent presentation, was that, they don't have the infrastructure currently to be able to support a 40% level of EV penetration, because they don't, there's the whole not my backyard for building electric plants. They rely very heavily on solar panels for their electrical infrastructure. So figuring out how to be able to build this infrastructure and have enough electricity to charge all these cars is going to be a challenge. And figuring out how to give consumers the opportunity to take the power that's in that battery in the vehicle and push it back into the electrical system too, for peak loads is
right.
a really interesting situation as well, that can help offset some of that load on the electrical system and help offset the cost to the consumer. So it's a really interesting topic.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's a moving target. And it's, like I said, 4 months ago when Cherry submitted our PowerPoint, there's so much that changed. And we're going to talk about some of those things, but it wouldn't be on the PowerPoint. We just have to ad lib because that much has already changed. It's incredible. Interesting on Hawaii though, huh?
Yeah, Hawaii must be a really tricky place to deal with electric vehicles. You know, it's always fascinated me that electricity, like cords of it are just draped under the ocean for miles and miles. And Hawaii must be a particularly complicated place.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I the other day, well, this is probably like 3 or 4 months ago, I saw
This is what Nico has been up to.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's what they do. So they
kept them busy.
It did. I was going to say he's been somewhat quiet now. Now he can tear the tear up again. But it was on. I saw this magnificent electric vehicle, the Hummer. I mean, it was just a work of art, magnificent piece of technology. But a level 1 charger at home, it takes 4 days to charge it.
Oh wow,
4 days. Level 2, we're talking about longer than 24 hours. And you would have to really start upping the game and getting into different levels that start costing a lot of money. And then where's the infrastructure for that? Anyway, it's fascinating. And I haven't ever driven one. I would certainly entertain it. I'm more of a long distance person. We think, oh, well, you can't drive here. You got to plan for all. And well, that's true. But the average person only drives about 60 miles a day. So unless they're really going out of town. So maybe you have an ICE for going out of town and electric for in town. Who knows? But there's some really fascinating new technology that's not going to require some of that stuff. And some of it's available now with 800 or 900 miles, except that they're not affordable to anybody.
Yeah. And hopefully, if it follows the path of most other technology, hopefully that cost will continue to come down as the range goes up.
Well, that's what some of those European countries thought, and the electricity inflation is just completely out of control, and they can't even afford to charge their vehicles, let alone buy eggs or anything else. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
So.
Well, do you have any upcoming goals for this year, the next 5 years?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Yeah. I mean, we always have a 3-year plan is really what we kind of focus on as an organization. It used to be 5, and I think even before that it was 7. But I think the pace of change these days is such that really 3 years is about as far out as you can really expect to have any control over, and you just have to constantly adapt. So we're making significant investments in our organization in terms of analytics and data analysis, and really being able to isolate dealerships' data to help them have insights into their customers and to make decisions based upon what they want to do from a service marketing standpoint in particular is really one of the areas that we're investing heavily in. We think that being able to know that, to go with Russell's example earlier, Charity's driving a minivan. You may not be. I don't know.
Oh, don't do that.
To be able to know, how does Charity's behavior as an individual within her life cycle differ from Russell's behavior and where he is in his life cycle, and how do we serve the needs of each of those different constituencies in different ways, to make sure that they continue to remain loyal customers of the dealership. And having different options available for customers. So for example, when a customer calls DriveSure roadside assistance, up until last year, you had to pick up the phone and call and talk to one of our operators in the call center, let that customer know what's wrong with your vehicle, where are you, what do you need, so on and so forth. And that, to my 20-something kids, is crazy. Why would I have to do that? So in order to serve constituencies like them, we just put a QR code on the oil change reminder sticker that comes from the dealership, that comes from DriveSure.
Yep.
They can scan that QR code and request roadside assistance completely digitally without having to speak to someone. And that they love doing that, and it makes it easier for us as well from a dispatching perspective, because there's no humans involved, and we know exactly where she is based upon the location of her phone. So, making differentiations like that, I think, will continue to be more and more important, to be able to kind of give each customer the journey that they want in terms of their engagement with the dealership.
That's point taken. I recently took my wife's Ford Explorer. Well, it's ours. We both drive it. We have a few vehicles, and it has 3 car seats in it. Two baby car seats, and then one for a toddler plus. And I was waiting because I'm a relationship kind of guy. That's what I do. I mean, it's more important than the sale even, because I want the communication to be there. I want them to know, and it's really hard to sometimes. It takes a little while to do that, particularly when you're working large groups. But I drove into the dealership. They don't know me. And you thought that I would have thought, and I was waiting for some kind of talking point, because I had all those car seats in my car that I drove up in to get the oil change and the rotate and balance. And I was flabbergasted. It was like it was a mechanical. There was not even a hello.
Right.
Not even a hello. As a matter of fact, they scared the out of me, because it was right before they opened. I had the window up and I was pulled into the lane, and they just knock on the window. I mean, I got scared to death. I didn't even know they were coming. Maybe they could have walked around and looked like they were coming. So I don't know, but that's the kind of stuff that I look for. And I think other consumers are like that too. I mean, who wouldn't want to engage this older guy with 3 car seats, 2 baby seats, and who wouldn't at least say, hey, you got kids or grandkids? Oh, you don't look that old or whatever, which I'd really love if they said that, but they don't.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. And understanding how customers want to be engaged with is absolutely essential.
It is.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Did you say something?
Before we wrap up, Bill.
Oh my gosh, we're already there.
Yeah. And I just want to say, I want to get this out before Nico starts making noise or whatever. But when we first started this company, maybe about 3 or 4 months in, I went to you, I went to Kaylee Filio, I went to several people and said, hey, do you want to co-brand with us and whip something up and see how it goes? Yeah. And you said yes. And I very much appreciate that. And I'm very happy that you came on our show today. We hope to meet you in person at NADA.
Yeah.
Please stop by.
Indeed. I will, for sure.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Charity. I appreciate those kind words. And it's, and yeah, it was a pleasure working with you. And thank you very much for the invitation to come on your podcast today. I really enjoyed it.
I would really, I just want to make this point, because of the workshops that Charity and I are doing all 3 days. It'll probably be every bit of 1:30 before we get back to the booth.
Sure.
We would really be honored and excited if you come by and say hi and
I absolutely will.
etc.
Yes, I absolutely will. And I'll be coming to the workshops too. So I'll definitely look you up and
my gosh, don't do that. That's too much pressure. Bill, no.
Come on.
Do you have a booth there at the show, Bill?
We do not. No, we do not. But a number of us from the company will be attending. So
excellent.
We'll definitely stop by.
Come visit. Come visit, be on the podcast. Meet Kaylee too. She's a great person to know as well. If you haven't.
For sure. Yeah, no, I have not. Yeah.
We're real excited. So we're down to really just a couple of minutes. And I'm going to let Charity do this part.
Sure. Well, if there's anything that you would like to say that maybe we missed, or something you kind of want to share with our automotive audience, feel free to take a few minutes and do it now.
Yep. Anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, I think we covered an awful lot, and it was an interesting conversation. Yeah, I think we're just really excited within our organization to be working with new car dealerships and the customers, the dealership customers that we do have. Many of them we've had for decades, and it's just great being able to grow with them and continue to evolve as a company, to continue to support dealers and their customers. And yeah, so we look forward to it, and very much looking forward to NADA as well, because there's always a lot of interesting new things to see there, and always great to see a lot of old faces as well as make some new friends as well. So we're very much looking forward to that, and looking forward to seeing you there next week as well.
Well, thank you very much. And listen, everybody out there, this another extremely successful episode of WTF, and that's what the Fixed Ops with Bill Springer, president of Krex. I got that right, president, right?
You did.
Okay,
Yep,
got that
correct.
right. And it was really such an honor. Learned a lot. I thought it was really great exchange. So this will be coming out shortly. Like him, love him, share, comment, whatever, and share it and spread it out. There's a lot of great information there. Some of you, a lot of you may not even know who he is. Well, you know now. Okay. You have no excuses now. And I'd just like to say, thank you. Thank you very much. And then, one last thing I must say, okay. This would not be possible. NADA would not be possible if it wasn't mostly for charity, because she does a lot of the behind the scenes. I always like to make sure I pour into her and elevate her in front of other people and lift her up, because she's an amazing talent. The other stuff that she's not good at, I'll talk about later. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. But no, thank you, Charity, for all you do. Bill, once again, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you. Thanks, Charity. Thanks, Russell. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Almost a year and a half. He's
Okay.
I have to count the months every time, but I know
Yeah.
he's not a year and a half yet. He's my
He's got
son.
that, look at that smile. He got that waving down.
Thank you for watching. I hope you're enjoying this episode of WTF. We come up with new episodes and shorts all the time. We launch them on YouTube, LinkedIn, and all of your favorite podcasting networks. And we'd like to ask for your support. Please head over to our LinkedIn company page, like and follow us there. I'll leave a link to it in the description below. We have a strong lineup of automotive experts coming your way. We don't want you to miss it. Thank you so much.